Yes, I can't believe that after today, we will be 2/3 complete with our 12-week program. Very excited to cover today the last checklist of the Algor-Win system. But we still have 4 classes left after today. So even though we'll be covering the last of the checklist, the final 4 weeks of the program, I will be able to definitely take more questions. But we have some other stuff that we want to cover. One of the pieces that often gets covered within the Algor-Win coaching program is we know all these things that if you actually work through the Algor-Win program, the step-by-step instructions, and go through the 7 checklists, you can get to 30 plus transactions a year for your business. So why doesn't just everybody do that? Well, we all know that there's all kinds of reasons that we don't actually sometimes complete the items that we're supposed to be completing. Oftentimes, it's just mental stuff that we have to break through. Sometimes we have to work on our energy. So, the final 4 weeks of the program, beginning next week, we're going to delve into first of all, what are the reasons why we might not be completing the entire program to help you kind of break through those paradigms. And then we're also going to cover some of the best practices, little things that you can do to complete everything. So with that, this week we're going to be covering events. And many of you participated for 6 months. We had Michael Mayer, the author of 7 Levels of Communication, really walk us through event mastery. We're going to cover some additional pieces today. So even if you've gone through our event mastery program with Michael Mayer, you'll still have tons of takeaways that we're going to cover today. So let's dig in. And first off, main things we're going to cover today, we're going to talk about the different types of people appreciation events. We're going to talk about the invitation, best practices for securing event sponsorship, timelines, venue considerations, logistics for day of the event, and after event follow-up strategies. As always, you can download the Algor-Win program or the Algor-Win book at lairrealty.com/Algor-Win. If you download the PDF version, the booklet has lots of clickable links, but especially in the table of contents, it's really easy to kind of click through everything. So just like most of the other checklists, there's 9 items on the event checklist. So we're going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. We're going to cover all of these items today, and a few extra things that we're going to add in that I think will be really important as we go through today's program. So first off, I want to talk about the 15 business building benefits of hosting events for your business. So first off, by hosting events, it creates a consistent reason to call people. So many real estate agents, we always say the more people that you talk to on a daily basis, past customers, friends, family, the more people you talk to, the more business that you will receive. But we don't want to be that salesy person that we're always calling people saying, hey, who do you know that's looking to buy or sell real estate? Instead, we're going to be the person that always is calling and giving value. We're inviting them to something, an event. That's why I recommend doing at least 4 people appreciation events per year. If you had the original version of the Algor-Win book, I used to call it a client appreciation event. In the second version of the Algor-Win book, it's called people appreciation event because it doesn't necessarily have to be clients. It's people appreciation in general. And I think in the third version, when that comes out, it's really just going to be focused on events in general, which I'll talk about why in a couple of minutes. But the cool thing about hosting a lot of events is that it consistently gives you something great to call about. It keeps you at top of mind for those people that you call on regularly. So imagine that you're hosting every quarter a people appreciation event of some sort. Every time you call somebody, you are saying, "Hey, I want to invite you to my apple picking event. I want to invite you to my Thanksgiving pie event. I want to invite you to my pumpkin carving event." You are always at the top of their mind when they're thinking about real estate. It also positions you as a value provider. It doesn't position you as a salesperson that you're always looking to take, because actually through events, you're always actually looking to give. And it creates massive opportunities for referrals. Even beyond the actual event itself, it is just making the phone call to people, inviting somebody or texting somebody to an event it opens a door to potential referrals. That's even if they don't show up to the event. It also supports local businesses and builds partnerships, because where are you doing the event? Probably a local business, but also we're going to talk about how we can include our vendor partners in the events that we do. So it's all around good for your local community, the people that you do business with regularly, your vendors, but also the people that you're supporting through hosting the event, like the local coffee shop, for example, or the local restaurant where you're doing the event. Also, another big reason to be doing events is truly they don't cost anything. Uh, if anything, they're very low cost. It's really important that you you do these with your vendor partners in mind. And then you can do lots of events throughout the year. Um, why would your vendor partners want to support you in these events? Because it's potential business for them too. You have to look at from their point of view that you're adding a massive amount of value to them because you are exposing them to your client base. And then it helps you build your personal brand. So when you consistently do events, and today we're going to talk about doing more than just your Thanksgiving pie event, which we help you organize every year. Through events, it builds your voice and your personality in the business. So you want to consistently be building your brand and creating an awareness around your brand. And this is very easy to do when you are consistently hosting events. People end up beginning to associate your name with fun, with community, with generosity, and with leadership. Also, big reason why to do events is it creates a social media frenzy, basically. So imagine that you're hosting 4 events a year. Every time you do a great event, it gives you 30 to 60 days worth of fresh photo and video content, because basically you have the 30 days of promoting the event up to the event happening, and then after the event you have photos and you can talk about who won drawings and stuff like that. So huge amount of social media content without having to always be just posting about new listings and stuff like that. Instead, your posts are about events, which is the same as posting about your interactions within the community. Okay, my slide froze here. Let's see. Never had that happen. There we go. I'm going to try representing. And I went. Sorry about that. Okay. So create social media content before and after. It increases repeat and referral business. So every year you're events are going to get bigger and bigger because it encourages people when they work with you to come back to you when they are ready to buy or sell real estate, but also it encourages referral business from the people who you're consistently inviting to event. It also establishes authority and expertise. When you are the leader of these events within your community, and beyond your appreciation events, but also we're going to talk about educational seminars. It shows that you're knowledgeable and professional, and it truly does set you apart from agents who just rely on marketing and passive lead generation. Very interesting. I had a conversation a few years ago with an agent who had built his business buying Zillow leads, and he was spending a ridiculous amount of money on Zillow, something to the tune of $20,000 a month on Zillow, and he had always done that for years and never really did a client appreciation event. And I said to him, I'm like, what would your business look like if you took just a tiny percentage? First of all, like I said, your events shouldn't cost you anything because you have sponsors that are more than thankful to be part of your events and to get exposure to your sphere of influence. But I said to him, instead of taking $20,000 a month and putting it towards Zillow, what if you just took a little piece of that budget and put it into hosting wonderful events? After all these years of doing business, why not show appreciation to the people who already know, like, and trust you? It is such a wiser investment than paying for a cold lead. When you buy leads, they are cold. It takes time to develop trust and rapport. But when somebody's already worked with you, the trust and the rapport is already built. That's why the referrals are so important from people who already know, like, and trust you. So, there's no better way to build events. There's no better investment, in my opinion, than building events into your business. Regular events in your community establish you as a local go-to expert. You're not just in the community, you create community. So I saw one of our agents, Sharon, in the Dracut office last week. She sent something into our happy agent team looking for assistance in creating a flyer. She does little neighborhood events in the local neighborhoods where she does a lot of business, where all she does is host an ice cream truck and sends out a little notification to all the neighbors that, hey, I'm bringing an ice cream truck this weekend for 1 hour. We'll be in the cul-de-sac of your neighborhood, and she sponsors it. That's a very low investment for a lot of advertising in that neighborhood. So in that instance, Sharon is creating community. She is more than just a person in the community. She's creating the community and bringing the people together for the ice cream truck. But most importantly, what I love about events is you can build a habit. And the habit is around confidence in presenting, hosting, and leading conversations. Now, what I want you to think about, many of you have been participating in our CMA a Day challenge. And I love the CMA a Day challenge because when you're new in real estate, when you think about doing a CMA for somebody as a brand new agent, that's like a big deal. That there's all this work that goes into creating the CMA, and that maybe you do one a month as a new real estate agent. Well, under the CMA a Day program, the agents that are participating are doing a CMA every single day. It shifts the paradigm for those agents. It is no longer like a once a month activity that I wait for somebody to call me and I do a CMA. It creates a habit that every day I wake up, I do a CMA for somebody. And those are the habits that create real estate agents who make hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars a year. just the habit alone. Well, think about if you did that with events too. Oftentimes, real estate agents say, oh, like I'm doing my Thanksgiving pie event. That is their event of the year. That's it. They do their one event a year. Well, imagine if you started doing events quarterly. First of all, if you're used to only doing an event a year, then I urge you to go to quarterly. That, hey, once a quarter, I'm going to start doing an event. And then I want you to get to monthly. Every month, I got events happening. Some of them are going to be people appreciation events, and some of them are going to be seminars because we have a lot of education to put out into the universe. So get into the habit, just like many of you are doing with the CMA a day challenge, that instead of doing a CMA once a month, maybe you're doing CMAs every single day. What a powerful habit for your business. And then events are really awesome for strengthening relationships with your vendor partners. It gets you consistently communicating with your team of people that you regularly work with. Again, it builds community when you're reaching out to the vendors and exposing them to your database. Events are also important for immediate introductions. I mean, what better place to potentially get business like in the moment? So immediate introductions. Events create momentum. So the more events you do, the easier they become. That's why I want to see so many of you get down to one event a month, that you just have a system in place that every month you've got an event that you're working on. People start to look forward to your events and expect them. And that leads to stronger turnouts, and it leads to consistent lead flow. So let's get into the 9 steps of people appreciation events. I'm going to weave into this as well, seminars. So more than just people appreciation events, we're going to also talk about buyer and seller seminars, because those are also events. So when I said you should be doing one event a month, what I say is do 4 events a year that are your people appreciation events. That's where you just invite the people who know, like, and trust you to trivia nights, a car show at your office, a pet photo day at the local park, a beach day, a museum day, a bowling event. So 4 of those a year. That includes your Thanksgiving pie giveaway, which many of you participated in that with us last Thanksgiving. But also, let's do 3 more of those people appreciation events. And then in between those events, we're going to fill in the gaps with seminars. Buyer, seller, staging seminars, move up seminars, moving down seminars, all kinds of stuff, turning properties into condo seminars, you name it. So many great seminars you can do in real estate. So the 2 types of events that we're typically going to be looking at as real estate agents are prospecting and people appreciation. Many of you, again, are very familiar with people appreciation, and we're going to spend a lot of time on that today. But what about prospecting events? So prospect-focused events. That means lead generation / education. That is first-time buyer workshops, home selling and staging seminars, investment property 101 seminars, credit repair and mortgage seminars, downsizing or empty nester seminars, market update happy hours, how to buy and sell at the same time, workshops. Many years ago, I started, before real estate, I started in the mortgage industry, and I did VA seminars. And this is going back 25 years. And I would do them at like the local American Legion, for example. And I would just do events. I'd bring in a mortgage person, a title person, and a home inspector and myself, and we would just do a 1-hour seminar on how to buy a VA home. So there's so many types of events to do out there. The other piece to think about, this is a pro tip. This is a game changer. Now, first off, if you start doing seminars, you're going to have to follow a lot of the steps we talk about today. It has to be extremely organized. You have to promote it. You have to make it available online, like a site like Eventbrite, so consumers can see it. You have to market it, etc. Because what's going to happen is your first events, maybe a buyer seminar or a seller seminar, you're not going to get tons of people. You might get 2 or 3 people. By the way, that's a huge win. If you get 2 or 3 people to show up at one of your seminars, that's wonderful. The key to that is making sure you don't want it set up for 50 people so it looks like it's low attendance. You want your event to look like you're expecting 2 to 3 people. But here's a pro tip for you guys. Go find employers in your marketplace that have a lot of employees. Every employer is always looking for ways to add value for their employee base. They want to help their employees. They want to add stuff. And one of the things that employers can add to the list of all the things they do for their employees is buyer workshops and selling workshops. So go find an employer in your marketplace who has a built-in audience for you, where you can go in and say, hey, I want to come in, I'll buy lunch for your employees, and I'm going to do a home buyer workshop for all of your employees, compliments of you, and show them the steps to buying a house. Or I'm going to do a home staging seminar for all of your employees, and I'll come in and I'll bring lunch. So in addition to the traditional ways of you just starting from scratch and marketing your event to the general public, think about where you can find those built-in audiences, and specifically the employers in your marketplace that have built-in employees, like 20, 30, maybe 100 employees, where you can go in and do a lunchtime workshop or an after hours, like 5 p.m. or 4:30, where the people get out a little bit early and they get to watch the seminar. Huge hit. Now, what do you guys present if you're doing a buyer seminar or a seller seminar? First of all, everything you need has already been created. Because if you go to lairagentservices.com, which you guys have been there many times, hopefully, if you go down to the marketing section, you guys know we have hundreds and hundreds of Canva pieces. We have buyer presentations, seller presentations, buyer guides, seller guides, investor guides. And all of those are perfect for a presentation for a buyer seminar or a seller seminar. So nobody has to start from scratch right now to create a seminar. That's why I don't want you to have an excuse in your head as to why you can't do this every single month. So all the pieces are already created for you. Our team as well went and actually built a very detailed Home Buying 101 seminar. This is like way beyond the buyer presentation that we have. We have a pretty awesome buyer presentation for anybody that's looking to sit down with a new client so that you can establish value really quickly. The Home Buying 101 seminar that we built is really long. You'll probably have to pare it down, but it's really for the brand new person that's thinking about buying a house. And maybe they're not quite ready to buy a house. Maybe they got credit stuff they got to work on, but they're very green on the entire process. We built at Lair Agent Services a complete Home Buying 101 seminar that you guys can download and customize for your business. Now, beyond the seminars, let's talk about people appreciation events. So there's a million different people appreciation events that you can do. And most of them, first of all, even if you footed the cost of the entire event. It's probably not going to be super expensive, but again, we're going to get sponsors and vendors to help with all of this. But think about the ice cream truck. I thought was great just for a local neighborhood where you want to be doing business. A pumpkin event for kids, an apple picking if you're in New England, uh, a local coffee shop meetup, a pet photo day, a family photo day. There's just so many different events. We have one agent that does um, like a antique car event where people come to the office and bring their antique cars, and it doesn't even cost anything. People want to bring their antique cars to showcase them for this event. Think about your audience when you're planning your event. So you have to think about whether it's prospects or versus past clients. It probably can be both, but also you're going to have different segments of people. So for example, do you have a lot of pet owners? If so, maybe that pet photo day works. Or you might have a lot of families, in which case maybe an apple picking event works. And you might have a lot of single people that you do business with. In that case, maybe a happy hour. So you have to think about who you have within your database, and that way you can properly segment people. Also, think about what are the things that would appeal to a wide range audience. For example, I think ice cream appeals to most people, not everybody, but a lot of people, whether you're single, you have a family, you have pets, it doesn't matter. So there's a lot of things that you can do that kind of appeal to everyone. Oh, this is one. We have an agent that does back to school photos in the fall, and she does them in the parking lot of the local school because she does the backdrop of a school bus. So she gets one of her real estate photographers donates their time. They do a set time. She's got snacks and food. The people bring their kids, and the kids get a photo, a professional photo in front of the school bus. So very inexpensive events. Think about logistics, venue and weather plan, parking and accessibility. Is it kid or pet friendly? The timing, do you want weeknight, weekend, daytime? You got to think about your budget, and then how many sponsors you would need. You have to create your marketing plan and then your social media marketing follow-up. Step 2, you have to create your invitation. By the way, I think these get a little bit out of sync. I don't remember if I put them in proper order. I put all 9 items within the checklist, but second, we want to create the invitation. See, this is a little bit out of sync. I would probably create the sponsorships first. So I should reorder the 9 items. But a couple things to keep in mind when you're thinking about your invitation. The invitation is your first impression. So you want to have something that really wows people when they see it. I think you should have both print and like email invitations. So something printed that you can hang on a local community board or drop off to somebody or include at your open houses. But in addition to that, also have like a JPEG that you can easily email or text to people as well. What do you include in a great invitation? A compelling headline. So like something fun where grilling, giving, and saying thank you, come celebrate with us. You want them to feel the energy of your event. Of course, your date, time, and location, and always include if there's parking or special instructions if they need to bring something. Always include in the invitation if it's complimentary. Sometimes we forget because we know we might not be charging something, but we forget to mention that in the invitation. Let people know how to RSVP and the deadline of the RSVP. And even make it easier if you include like a little QR code where people can RSVP to the event. Always thank your sponsors. You might write in the invitation, you could include some of your sponsors. If it's a smaller event and there's only a couple of sponsors, you can include them right into the invitation. And then also in your invite, you want to make sure to mention rain date or weather plan if it's an outside event. So some of the main things that you want to think about. Most important, I think it's important to have some multiple formats: print, digital, social, and you want it to be well crafted. That's why I put all the things you kind of want to think about, including like a weather plan if it's an outdoor event. And I want you to think that your event starts the moment somebody sees your invitation. So the event doesn't necessarily start when the event starts. Your event for you begins the minute you begin marketing this, because doing events is way more than just people showing up to an event. It is about marketing. It is about crafting a message. It's about being memorable. So the people who show up for an event, that's just the cherry on top. You have all these marketing opportunities up to, through, and after the event. And that's why a well-crafted invitation is so important. I think it's important to always have a very simple way to collect RSVPs. You can't be collecting the RSVPs because at the end of the day, this is just a marketing strategy. Your business is to be working with buyers and sellers. So you don't want to be managing text messages of people who are texting RSVPs or emailing you RSVPs. That's why by publishing to an event platform, they will have a mechanism in place for you to collect all that information so that you can funnel all the information so that this does not become a part-time job organizing an event for you. That basically you create the invitation, and yes, you're going to take steps to market it, but we don't want it taking up all your time because we have real estate to sell. Published to an event platform. Usually they have very clean layouts. Most important, they have the RSVP buttons. They also typically have a Google map, and lots of visuals so that whoever's looking at it feels like this is a big event. Most important is the RSVP tracking, so you can see real time who has registered for the event. It also, by publishing to an event platform, it makes it super shareable so that you can just share the link to your event on social media, and you can text it to people, you can email it to people, and they just click a link and they can sign up if they want to attend. The other reason the event platforms are really convenient is because you can mass email the people who are attending. So let's say you have a people appreciation event that you're doing, or maybe a home buyer seminar. You can send reminders to people, just to all the attendees prior to the event. So you can set up some automation so that the more times you remind people of the event, the more likely it is that they will show up. And all of that is built into these event platforms. And most importantly for you, because you are not a full-time event planner, it is massively time saving to just have a platform that kind of manages your entire event in one place. The other upside to an event platform is it collects all your info: names, emails, phone numbers, etc. You can even, like I use Eventbrite a lot, you can customize your registration if you want to ask very specific questions, such as if you're having food at the event, you can ask, are there any food allergies? And then just like you can send confirmations to people prior to the event saying, hey, don't forget, we have our event on Saturday. Can't wait to see everybody. Also, after the event, through the event platform, you can do mass email messages to all of the attendees of your event. What are some of the online platforms you can use? The one that I typically use for a free event is Eventbrite. So if your event is free, then Eventbrite is where it's at because it's free if your event is free. Eventbrite now charges if you charge for your event, but if you're doing just a free event, which most of these will be free events, Eventbrite is also free. Some people like Evite. I prefer Eventbrite over Evite only because I think Evite for me sometimes has a lot of extraneous pay-per-click advertising built into the Evite, which I don't like. Paperless post, I've seen a lot of agents use. And if you went through our Thanksgiving pie program, Michael Mayer was a big fan of just using a Google form, that you could create a Google form for collecting your RSVPs as well. So that also works. Okay, next, your beyond creating the invitation, now we have to go out and invite people. So this means that we have to, more than creating an invitation, we also have to be somewhat proactive in a systematic approach to sending out these invites to people. And this is where there's typically a little bit of legwork. But the cool thing about this as a real estate agent, this is where you engage with buyers, potential buyers and sellers. So this is the part that can potentially replace prospecting. When you get into real estate, they tell you got to be prospecting every day for new business. Well, prospecting is hard, especially if all you're doing is asking people to give you something, to give you business. Prospecting is much easier when you're giving something. And so this invitation process, like inviting people, reaching out to people, email and text, it becomes your prospecting when you are really good at hosting events. So you got to send text messages. So there's some samples in here. All of these slides will be at lairrealty.com/12-week Algor-Win. Right under the recording of the program, we'll have these slides so that you can click back and refer to these. But come up with a simple and warm text invitation. Also, people are always have FOMO, fear of missing out. So send reminders like, hey, we're finalizing the head count of our event and I'd hate for you to miss it. It's going to be such a great time. Should I add you to the guest list? Always send the link to your Eventbrite or wherever you're hosting the event, because the preference is that's where they RSVP. You can do super friendly, like, hey, they're just checking in to see if you might be coming to the event. No pressure at all. Just wanted to make sure we have enough snacks, giveaways, pumpkins, etc. for everyone. Let me know. Also, you want to also engage through email. So some people are going to respond to email, some are going to respond to text message. So you have to have a holistic approach. You also are going to be putting on social media your link to your Eventbrite. But when it comes to email specifically, what matters most is your email subject line so that people will at least open the email. So, hey, you still thinking about joining us? Don't miss the fun. We'd love to see you. Friendly reminder. And then come up with your own idea for email. Also, by the way, don't forget, you can always lean into ChatGPT to give you some ideas for emails or texts if you're not sure exactly how to word it. Number 5, booking venue and food. Some of the things to think about. Budget and pricing. It's super important that you track everything so you know your overall event budget. So how do you determine your event budget? It really comes down to your sponsorships, which we're going to talk about in a few minutes, getting people to contribute to help you pull off a wonderful event. That once you know what you're looking at for sponsorships, now you have a budget that you can work within. So let's just say that you have 4 people that are each contributing $500, well, now your budget is $2,000. So you work within the $2,000 budget, but don't forget all the things that you have to include in that 2,000. When it comes to pricing out stuff, you want to be super careful, especially when it comes to like the restaurants and foods, because beyond just looking at their menu for larger events, there's typically upcharges from taxes to service fees. Some of them, like if you're hiring, if they need additional staff, you're paying for it. So it's very important that you understand, especially when it comes to pricing out the food and drinks. If you're working with a restaurant or caterer, that you're not just looking at the price of the food, because there's several levels of additional pricing on top of that. So make it clear to the restaurant, hey, I need a complete budget with everything. I want to know what my total out of pocket is. Always get everything in writing when you're pricing out everything from the food to the venue, everything you're doing, get everything in writing. And always clarify the payment schedule and the cancellation policy. Okay. By the way, don't discount low or no cost venues. You do not necessarily have to do an event at a pricey restaurant. There's so many great places to host events that it doesn't cost you anything. For example, like I've seen some cool events happen at the public library. They have meeting rooms that you can rent out for very little or no money. Parks or community centers, your office space. At Lair, we have 40 some odd offices you're welcome to use, and there's no cost to hosting an event at one of our locations. Partner or vendor spaces. So take a look at who are your vendor partners that you're working with and what do they have for space. Maybe they have a really cool place you could host the event. So don't discount that there are places where you can do your event for little to no money. And of course, there's paid venues like event halls, restaurants, wineries, hotels, but that's going to drive up your cost. Same with theaters, museums, galleries for super unique experiences. Always read the fine print when it comes to the venue and the food. Find out your final head count due dates. You have to find out if there's minimums, especially on the food stuff like food and beverage. A lot of the restaurants slash caterers have minimums. So you need to find out if there's a minimum number you have to meet. Always pay attention to capacity of wherever you're looking at. And then the add-ons, anything that would be an add-on to what you need. Maybe you need like AV equipment or linens, things like that. Anything you need that could be an add-on, you want to make sure you've accounted for that. And then you also want to find out like what happens if the event runs over? Are there going to be expenses? Some of the restaurants, for example, will say, hey, if you're not out at 3 o'clock and we need another hour to get people wrapped up, you're going to pay for the service for the extra hour. So really read the fine print on your contracts. You want to find out about setup and breakdown times. And then also consider like seasonal availability, especially for outdoor venues. There may be limitations such as like the time of day. You might have to wrap up earlier because it gets dark out earlier, things like that. Also to think about when you're booking your event is insurance and liability. Sometimes you might need insurance. You might need a permit in some locations. For example, we just did an event for our coast to coast grand opening out in Wellington, Florida, and they required a permit for a food truck in the parking lot of our office. So little things like that, you might have to have a permit depending on where you're going. So check into all of that. And then always have like a point person. When you are hosting at a venue, you want to make sure you have a point person with their name and phone number so that you can reach out for last minute changes. Also, ask who is responsible for cleanup. Is it on you or do they do it? What does parking and accessibility look like? Are you allowed to park anywhere? What is the parking? Is there handicap access? Maybe you have clients that are coming in a wheelchair, for example. Are they going to be able to get in and out of your event? And make sure you include parking information on your invitations. And like I said, permits, consider if you need a permit and consider if you might need a rain date if you have an outdoor event. Okay, next, your sponsors. Some stuff to think about when it comes to sponsors. First of all, you have all the people in the mortgage, attorneys, home inspectors, like all the people you work with in the real estate world, but also all the people that you have in the community that you work with, the landscapers, the painters, the cleaning companies, like who are the people that you work with regularly just living in the community? So identify who the potential sponsors are. You have to come up with your sponsorship levels. I think it's cool if you can come up with a couple different options, 2 to 3 options for vendors. So like a gold, a silver, and a bronze sponsor. So everybody can kind of get involved, even if they don't have enough for like a gold sponsorship. But this requires you to kind of price it out. The good news is once you have all this figured out, it's duplicatable. So you'll eventually have your own little checklist that you go by. You'll have your sponsor menu that you use on your 4 events a year. It becomes very simple to execute once you have your checklist. And then you create your expectations so that the vendor knows exactly what they're going to get for participating in your event. From visibility, where is their logo going to be seen? You have to make like a vendor flyer. So here's all the things that you get for being a sponsor of the event. Of course, the biggest thing they get is the ability to meet and greet with your people, the people that attend the event. Uh, Also, think about giveaways. Perhaps each sponsor could bring a raffle item or door prize or a branded giveaway so that you can do some drawings throughout your event. And make sure that you include the sponsor in everything from your event flyers to your invitations, your social media posts. Tag them in everything for supporting you and supporting your event. Don't forget, the goal is to be doing several of these events a year. So we want to make sure that they feel well acknowledged throughout the entire event process so that when you come back in 3 months and say, hey, I'm doing another event, would you like to participate in this one? It's an easy yes. Also, for the actual event, I'd make a sponsor / poster or flyer. You can make posters very inexpensively and have them printed in a day at Staples so that you can just have a stand, a little easel with all of your event sponsors that gets displayed at your event to say thank you to them. And also create a plan for your sponsors that are attending the event. Like what time should they arrive? Do they get a table? Do they need a place to plug in? And then let them know if they're expected to bring anything to the event. And then we'll talk about this more, but you want to make sure that you have a follow-up plan to show gratitude to the sponsors who are participating. Um, I think one pro tip for hosting events is have a simple sponsorship agreement, like a nice little short form on what you're going to provide, what they're going to pay, so that clarity is kindness, that you have everything spelled out in a little place that they can sign and you sign. So you have an agreement. Make your payment methods as simple as possible. And think about whether you want to give the sponsors an opportunity to speak, but also make sure that you have a system down, like, hey, you get 3 minutes to speak or something like that, so that it doesn't take up too much of the event. Okay, this is 2 weeks prior to the event, certain things that you need to get done. Number one, 2 weeks prior to the event, Organize event photography. Doesn't even necessarily have to be professional photography, but you should have somebody that's in charge of taking pictures, and it shouldn't be you. You don't want to be distracted with that. And it's too easy to forget that you get to the event and people are talking to you and things like that, and you just forget to take photos. So organize somebody that is going to be in charge of photography for your event. Create your event agenda. This is important because it makes sure that on the day of the event, you're going to print out a bunch of these, but it keeps everything on track. You don't want to just wing it because you'll get to the event day and there's so much happening at once, stuff will be forgotten. So 2 weeks prior, create your event agenda so that you can tweak it before your actual event. Think about 2 weeks prior, you're going to think about what does event check-in look like. Maybe you need an additional person there that can help check in for you. Again, you want to make it so that you're free during the event to walk around and speak with people, and that you're not having to manually handle photos or manually handle check-in. And maybe it's a sponsor that can take on some of this. Event day. Again, we already made our agenda for the day. We're going to bring several copies of our agenda so that we can stay on track with everything we were planning on doing. And then finally, we actually do the event. So after the event, we're going to have our thank you. So first, we have to add everybody that attends the event to our database. So first things first, we want to make sure every single person, that's why that check-in process is so important. We want to make sure we get all those names and email addresses and make sure everybody is added into our database if they're not already there. We want to send a post-event thank you to everybody, expressing gratitude for attending. And if it's a people appreciation event, you can include event photos, a fun recap, or links to resources that you promised during the event. So let's just say it was a buyer seminar or seller seminar. You might have promised like, hey, I'll give you links to the slides. That's where you send them, is in that post-event thank you. If it's a people appreciation event, think about using, there's a free service called Animoto, Animoto, and you just upload all of your photos and it'll add some music and make a nice little video overview of your event. So send a thank you to everyone. Post everything to social media. You want to create your photo, your highlight reels, and then post it to social media and encourage your guests, if they took any photos, to upload them as well. Track your results. So after the event is over, you want to look at how many people attended, how many RSVPs versus the number who actually showed up. How many new leads, referrals, or appointments did you generate? And who stood out to you as someone that you should really be following up with right away? Then we're going to schedule our follow-ups. So reach out individually to clients or VIP guests, or maybe somebody mentioned to you at your event that they're looking to buy or sell a home. We want to make sure we schedule that follow-up right away. Offer a coffee chat, a free CMA, a home buyer consult, etc. And send a handwritten note for an extra personal touch. Don't forget, anybody that sponsored your event, really important that you add them to your trusted vendor list. Many of you are using the trusted vendor list that we have right in the Lair Agent Services platform. But if somebody has sponsored your event, a vendor specifically, they should now be added to your trusted vendor list so that they end up in your buyer packages, your seller packages, your investor packages. And when one of your clients is seeking a referral, that the people who have supported you, you're now able to support because they are on your vendor list. And then don't forget to consistently post after the event, post-event. content. Yeah, directly after the event, you're going to send put photos on your social media, but a week later, do it again and say, here's what you missed if you didn't make it to the apple picking event or the pet photo day event. And during that time, share any testimonials that you might have gotten from people that attended the event. So make sure your social media content lasts for a while. You have pre-event social media content and post-event social media content. And then the last step of a well-planned event is planning your next event, because we are going to exercise our muscles when it comes to event planning. And this definitely is not going to be our last or only event. As soon as we're done with this one, we're already on to planning the next one, because we're going to become so good at planning events and getting in front of people, just like so many of you have built a habit of a CMA a day. Think of all the real estate agents in the world who sit back and wait, and they're lucky to do one CMA a month. And you guys are like putting CMAs out there every single day, generating business. Well, what does that look like when you're doing that with seminars? That like, hey, every month I got a seminar happening, a buyer seminar, a seller seminar, a staging seminar. By the way, if you're doing seminars, bring a video team and post it to YouTube after your event as well, because that way you're generating even more potential buyers and sellers from your seminars. But what do we have for questions? If anybody has a question, raise your hand and we can answer those. And don't forget to show up next week. Thank you, Lindsay, for the nice comment. Victor says, do we have a marketing plan that's on the website that we can use for events? I don't have a marketing plan, but I don't mind working on one. And yes, Bernadette Trafton said, we use the Lair office every month. Bernadette Trafton has built an amazing real estate team, now like 20 plus agents, and an amazing real estate business focusing on events. So Bernadette is an expert in educating real estate investors. And now she has this massive following and a huge database, and she does events every month. Some of them are at Lair offices, some of them are outside of Lair offices because they're too big, but she has really focused on, because think about all the nuances of being a real estate investor. So basically, she's built a massive real estate team and a massive real estate business by just focusing on the nuances, and every month bringing in somebody who talks about like 1031 exchanges or tax consequences, or how do you convert multifamily into condos. So Bernadette is a person that has exercised this muscle of being an expert at events, and all of us can do it. All of us should be doing it, just like we're doing a CMA a day. All right, I don't see any other questions. So thank you guys for another week. Don't forget to come next week. We've covered all the checklists, but we still have a lot to go. So 4 more weeks to Algor-Win. Thanks, everyone. Have a great day.